All right, today we're going to dive into this really powerful idea called the inner compass. Think of it as a guide for navigating something we all get tangled up in. That classic pleasure-pain trap.
I mean, does this sound familiar? You're on this treadmill, right? You're always chasing that next thing you think is finally going to make you happy. The promotion, the new car, that perfect vacation. But then you get it, and somehow that feeling just doesn't stick around, does it? And that's because you might be caught in this trap without even realizing it. It's this super subtle but totally exhausting cycle that has us constantly running, either chasing after things we want or scrambling away from things we don't. So today, we're going to talk about how to actually step off that treadmill for good. All right, let's get right into it. The pleasure-pain trap. So what is it, really? Well, at its core, it's just this constant, exhausting cycle where our minds are always looking for something outside of us to feel good and trying to dodge everything else so we don't feel bad.
I love this metaphor. It's so perfect. Think about your mind like a little puppy in a giant buffet hall. It's running around, totally convinced that the taste is in the plate, not in its own tongue. It sees all these plates, people, jobs, events, and it either lunges for them thinking that's where the happiness is, or it runs away in fear. The puppy completely misses the point. The real reason for its reaction isn't the plate, it's its own tongue, its own internal system of likes and dislikes.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The belief that the world is here to make you happy is perhaps the greatest of all human delusions. I mean, wow. We walk around thinking our job, our partner, our whole life situation is supposed to make us happy. And what we're learning here is that this very belief is the fuel for the whole trap.
Okay, so if happiness isn't actually in the things we're chasing, then where the heck does it come from? This is where we get to the root cause of this whole exhausting cycle, and it all boils down to one simple but powerful mental act.
And that act is called projection. It's a huge concept. Basically, our mind imagines that happiness or pain is in external things. So that brand new car, it doesn't actually contain happiness. Our mind puts that feeling there. And that super awkward conversation you're dreading, it doesn't contain misery. Our mind is the one projecting that feeling onto it.
This chart lays it out so clearly. On the one hand, you have the illusion we live in, the idea that happiness is a property of an object, like its weight or its color. But the reality is completely different. Happiness is a projection from our own mind. It's driven by our own internal likes and dislikes. So we're not really chasing the thing itself. We're chasing the feeling we've projected onto it.
And you've seen this in your own life, right? I mean, have you ever noticed that happiness just never stays where you put it? You get the dream job, you buy the perfect house, you meet the one. You put your happiness right there. And yeah, for a little while it feels great, but it fades, doesn't it? And before you know it, your mind is already scanning the horizon for the next thing to pin your happiness on.
This is what's called the future happiness script. It's this habit we have of constantly putting off our peace and contentment. You know the drill. We put up with stress in school so we can be happy at our future job. Then we put up with stress at that job so we can be happy in our relationship. It's always, I'll be happy when. Real happiness is always just one more hurdle away.
So the big question is, how do we get out of this mess? How do we break the cycle? Well, the answer is a pretty radical shift in focus. It's about turning away from that external buffet of stuff and turning our attention inward, to our own state of being.
Yeah, the goal isn't to become a smarter shopper at the buffet, right? It's not about picking better plates. The real breakthrough is realizing the buffet was never where the food was to begin with. The real solution is to look inside and find that source of fullness that's already within you.
And this is the absolute core insight right here. True happiness isn't about getting all your life events lined up perfectly. It's about knowing the knower. What does that mean? It means becoming aware of that quiet part of you, that consciousness that's just observing. It sees the pleasure, it sees the pain, it sees the likes and dislikes, but it doesn't get swept away in the drama.
So ultimately, this presents us with a really crucial choice. We can choose comfort, which, let's be honest, is just sticking with the same old, familiar pattern of chasing things outside of ourselves. Or we can choose clarity. Now, this path is harder, for sure, but it's way more rewarding. It's about understanding our own mind's patterns, because that's the only real way to break free.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea, It's a real, practical discipline. So, let's get into the good stuff. Let's look at the actual tools that can help us make that shift from comfort over to clarity.
Okay, so there's this daily practice cycle outlined in the source. It's about creating a structured way to do this self-reflection. Think of it like a workout for upgrading your inner clarity. First, you're listening and learning these ideas. Then, you're really thinking about them, contemplating how they actually show up in your own life. Next comes the practice of just observing your mind. After that, you analyze your own reactions, and finally, you take a step back and evaluate how your perspective is starting to change.
And what does this look like day to day? Well, it's about using some really simple techniques. Stuff like having a mantra you can repeat when you feel your ego getting all fired up. Or, and this is a big one, just pausing. Taking a breath before you react in a stressful situation. It can also mean doing some breathing meditation, or learning to watch your own thoughts like they're a movie playing on a screen. And a really practical one, changing your goal in conversations from trying to win to trying to understand.
So, okay, that's the theory. But what does this stuff actually look like in the real world? This is my favorite part, because the most powerful thing is hearing from people who've actually put these tools into practice. Let's check out some of the results.
I mean, how great is this metaphor from David? He says he went from driving an old pickup with broken shocks to driving a Rolls-Royce. He's not talking about a literal car. He's saying life's roads are still just as bumpy, but this inner practice, that's his new shock absorbers. The outside world just doesn't jolt him around like it used to.
And this one from Barbara is so relatable, right? We've all been there. She got stuck in traffic, started feeling that anxiety bubble up, but instead of letting the traffic jam dictate her mood, she just let the peace that was already inside her come out. And everything was fine. The traffic was still there, but her entire experience of it changed. That's huge.
And here's Jerry talking about how this changes our relationships with other people. He's been focusing on trying to understand instead of trying to win arguments. And now he finds himself just backing up a bit. He can see when he's being met with resistance, and he can stop, instead of just pushing forward and getting stuck in that same old conflict loop.
And this quote, this one really sums up the whole journey, doesn't it? I have tested the world, now I am willing to test myself. It's that moment when, after years and years of looking for answers out there, you finally turn around and decide to look inward. You're finally ready to explore the real source of it all.
So we're going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. We spend so much of our energy trying to make our lives better, right? Trying to build a more comfortable prison for ourselves, decorated with all our likes and insulated from our dislikes. But what if real freedom isn't about getting a nicer, more comfortable prison? What if it's about realizing you were never in prison to begin with?